Hey guys, what's going on? Mike the Caveman Q here again. Paleo Problem on MikeTheCaveman.com. We have another edition of Mondays with Mike, live stream Q&A. Ask me anything, health related. And yeah, you know the deal. Put your questions down in the comment box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up here on my phone. That way I can hear, or rather I can read your comments because there's a lag on the actual feed for whatever reason. So I can see them more on time and see what's actually going on. All right, we'll pull this up. What's up, Chris? How you doing, brother?
Health related.
Steph, how you doing? All right, awesome. So before we get started, while I'm waiting for you guys to put your questions down in the box. Yeah. Hey, Tom, how you doing? And Stephanie's jumping right in. So put your questions in. Before I answer your question, though, I'm going to go and tackle the topic of the hour, which, of course, is coconut oil actually healthy, right? Because up to now, over a dozen people have sent me some variation on the article that's been published in the last couple of days, whether it be the BBC article, the USA Today article, and the fact of the matter is, that article's bullshit. Okay? Coconut oil is, in fact, healthy. Period. What those are based on are the American Heart Association, their recommendations, and as it stands right now, in the official recommendations, saturated fat is still listed as a deleterious ingredient, something that is going to be bad, potentially. That being said, coconut oil is not bad, okay? So the recommendations are based specifically on whether or not it's going to change your cholesterol levels. We have a whole video on that, episode 371. And the fact of the matter is, coconut oil may change your cholesterol levels, yes. But when it does so, it raises your HDL and your LDL, the good and bad. And we've talked about that a whole bunch of times. We'll talk about it more if you'd like. But for now, the short answer is, when it raises both of them at the same time, it has no effect on net risk of any kind of cardiovascular related issues. So the fact of the matter is, coconut oil is still good for you. Period. Not only has coconut oil not been healthy, it always was, it still is. And that really didn't make as much sense as I wanted it to when it was in my head, but you get where I'm going with this. Basically, long and short of it is, those articles are bullshit. Period. So a bunch of people jumped on. Cindy, Sam, Josh, Patty, what's up, guys? How you doing? All right, so again, finishing up the thoughts on that, the long and the short of it is, eat your coconut oil, stop listening to that bullshit, okay? Anthony, how you doing, brother? Okay, so now that we tackled the coconut oil topic, because everybody sent it to me, and I'm sure I'll be fielding more questions on it soon, but I've already done a couple of videos on coconut oil. The fact of the matter is, it's garbage. Stop listening to it. Anyway, alright, Stephanie. Colostrum versus lactoferrin. Which is more effective at breaking up biofilms? Would it be effective to take both? And lactoferrin sequesters iron from biofilms. Could it potentially negatively reduce my own iron status? Those are some great and in-depth questions you got there, Steph. And honestly, when it comes to that, Ozzy, what's up? Short answer on that would be, when it comes to colostrum and lactoferrin, lactoferrin is more of a component of colostrum. It's kind of like everybody wants to supplement with collagen peptides now. Just eat some gelatin. It's the same thing, essentially. In terms of another analogy that people might understand a little easier, it's like milk versus whey protein. Now, in that particular case, in that particular analogy, that example, the whey protein is generally going to be better than actual milk, unless we're talking about raw milk, and then we get into a whole nother issue. But when it comes to the colostrum versus lactoferrin, because that is dairy in and of itself, lactoferrin is a component of the colostrum. And quick side note on what the colostrum is, it is, for those of you who have never been pregnant or had a kid, colostrum, of course, is the kind of pre-breast milk. So it's the thing that's released in mammals before we release our full, well, I don't release it, but mammals as a collective, before female mammals, very specifically female mammals, before they release breast milk, they produce colostrum first. And the fact of the matter is, colostrum has some potential amazing health benefits. So they went and taken bovine colostrum and turned it into a supplement. Anyway, back to the point we were at. Going to the colostrum versus lactoferrin. In terms of what the purpose is, One is a derivative of the other. It is a component thereof. In terms of which is more effective at breaking up biofilms, that is a great question, Steph, and I can look more into it. I'll be sure to dig into the research for you. But in terms of that, off the top of my head, I honestly don't know. If I was to pick one, if I only had to pick one, and the cost was still the same, everything was the same across the board, I'd probably go with colostrum, because you're going to get more overall benefit besides simply the breakdown of the biofilms. That being said, I can look more into what the exact mechanisms are in terms of which is better overall, specifically for biofilms. In terms of taking both, yeah, you definitely take both. It definitely wouldn't be a terrible idea. In terms of, again, provided it's financially feasible. Okay, so lactoferrin sequesters iron from biofilms. Could potentially negatively reduce my own iron stores. And that's another great question. I know that, again, it has immunological activity. It may just be focusing on the biofilms. Could it actually have a role in your own? I don't know. I'll look into that more. But that is definitely a great question in terms of what you're looking at. So part of the way it works is that by sequestering the iron, most pathogens, like whether it be bacteria or fungi, protozoa, they utilize more iron. So a lot of times when you have iron overload, people see too much iron in the blood. It's because they have some kind of infection going on that's going and taking the iron out of their body to basically use it. So when you test them, all of a sudden their iron stores their iron level is super high in the blood because the pathogen are basically saying, get me more iron, and they're taking it all out. So all the iron that would normally be in tissue being utilized is starting to get utilized by that bacteria. So something like lactoferrin can go and take the iron back away and break up that biofilm. That's kind of the thought on that. In terms of, could it reduce your own stores? Tangentially, possibly. In terms of otherwise, I'll look more into the exact mechanisms to give you a better answer at some point. I think that'd be a good video at some point. Just remind me, Steph. Joey, what's up, brother? Alright, so far we tackled a little bit about colostrum and lactoferrin. Hopefully that helped you out, by the way, Steph. But talk about those two, colostrum versus lactoferrin, talking about biofilms. We're getting a little bit deep into it. We talked so far about the cholesterol issue and coconut oil and why coconut oil is still actually healthy despite all the articles. Kinsley, what's up, brother? How you doing? Cool, Steph. Thanks, guys, maybe for the reminder on that. And then, yeah, we'll definitely get into a video. All right, what kind of other questions we got? Like I said, we talked about coconut oil, why it's still healthy. We talked about the ways to combat eczema. Actually, I already got a whole video on that one, Joe. Short answer for right now would be focus on your gut because your skin, actually I have the skin episode too. So I have one specifically on eczema. I have another one on your gut-skin axis. And the fact of the matter is your gut and your skin are inextricably related. They are tied together completely. So if your gut is unhealthy, your skin will be unhealthy. So in the case of eczema, if you want to deal with that, what you want to do is work on removing things like grains, legumes to help bring down your allergenic load. You're also going to want to make sure you're taking in lots of probiotics, fermented foods. Now, from there are little caveats that could change things up a little bit. But basically, everything we do, everything that we've done is... everything we've done with you and Susanna will be great ideas in terms of dealing with eczema. So focus on that. That's number one. In terms of topical, you're going to want to look at coconut oil. Would be a great idea. Apple cider vinegar might be beneficial. But yeah, I'll tag you in the video. I'll tag the video in the post afterwards. And yeah. Thanks, Kinsley. I appreciate it, brother. So watch stuff all the time. Keep it up. Thanks, man. I definitely appreciate it. Joey. Okay, I'll check it out. Sounds good, brother. Okay, Stephanie. Silver is controversial. It's an effective antimicrobial, but is it also a heavy metal that can't be chelated? So that's a great question, Steph. There's different types of silver. There's colloidal silver, which is the most commonly one you'll see, versus say the nanoparticles. So either way, both of those are relatively safe. One, you're looking at actual small pieces of the metal versus in suspension. In terms of it being a heavy metal that can't be chelated, yes, if you have particles that are too big, if the colloid suspension was made improperly, you could get the, Agiria. It's Agryii. Agiria. Somebody look it up for me if you can. That'd be great. But look up Blue Man Silver, colloidal silver. But what's up, Anthony? How you doing? Okay, so yeah, I think it's called Agiria, whatever it's called. If you have an improperly made colloidal silver, yeah, that is a possibility. But that guy didn't know what he was doing. Yeah, Smurf syndrome, that's a technical term. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not the technical term, but maybe it's an industry term. It's definitely called like Agiria or something. Anyway, the guy was making it in his bathtub in like Arkansas, which I got to shit on Arkansas because I was just there and I love it. But anyway, he was somewhere completely random and he was making it himself and he had no idea what he was doing apparently and was taking way too much. There's also a congressman I think actually that did too. It's happened a couple of times, but it might even be the same guy. The story I'm thinking of, but anyway, back to the point. Properly made colloidal silver isn't necessarily going to be an issue. In terms of improperly made, then yes, it can actually become a metal. Is it a heavy metal in the sense of, like, say, an arsenic or a mercury or a lead? No, it's not going to have the same net effect. That being said, I would not be taking it from an irreputable source. I'd make sure that whatever it was that you're taking, you know where it's coming from, the quality. That's anything. Don't take herbs from the guy at the corner bodega. Well, maybe that guy. Anyway. Point is, what I'm trying to say is know where it's coming from. Don't just randomly take, nonsense. And colloidal silver, like anything else, it's super powerful. Part of what it does, it doesn't actually kill the bacteria and the viruses per se, the microbes. Microbes and virus. Essentially, what it does, it engulfs it, encapsulates it, and it suffocates it. It's kind of and. I know that makes no sense in the sense I said it doesn't kill it. What I mean is it more engulfs it, and I'm wording this completely terribly, but essentially it makes it can't reproduce. So it makes it more sterile, and that's still not right. Remind me to do a whole video on that too, just because my thoughts aren't as clear as I want them to be on it. The long and the short is that it doesn't explicitly kill them, and it doesn't, It engulfs it, and I'm blanking out the exact mechanism. I will definitely put together a video on that as well to make my thoughts clearer. But the short version is, I used it for many, many, many years. I like it a lot. Bacteriostatics, is that like a brand name for colloidal silver, or what is that? While I'm waiting for you to answer that and some more questions, bacteriostatic. I don't know where you're going with this. Maybe. Yeah, so just real quick to people who are joining late. So far we talked coconut oil. Oh, maybe. That could be it. That could be what I'm talking about. I've never heard it called that term, but that would make sense in terms of just the etymology of that word, breaking that word down. Static, like to a stasis, basically freezing the bacteria. Kind of what it does, yes. If that's the official term for reproduction of bacteria, then yes. Or something that freezes the reproduction of it, then yes, I would say that would be it. Again, I will I'll do a video on it just to really clear it up, because I haven't done colloidal silver yet. And I've taken it for many years. It works incredibly. 500 parts per million is about as high as I would say to go, and that would be a once a day, no, not more, and that's explicitly during a gnarly infection. In terms of topically, cuts and things, it works great for that as well. That you can get away with 5 parts per million, which is a lot lower concentration. That is also safe even for like your eyes, and I use that safe with a very broad term. Just for legal reasons, I can't say that it's going to be definitively safe, obviously. But, Shoshana, what's up? Dave, how do you stay so handsome? That's my question. It's all about the spores and the fire cream, bro. That's it. And the CBD. That's the answer. What's up? But yeah, D-Rock, how you doing, brother? Shoshana, hey, I got a flex. I got a flex there. Oh, Dave, since I have you here, could you please tell the audience, just I would talk to your audience, talk to my audience, please. Tell them how, and since Stephanie's here as well, and we dragged poor Stephanie onto D-Rock's Six Borough podcast, one of my appearances. We dragged her on. She was the first official call-in guest. So Stephanie, we called her up because we were talking about CBD oil and its potential to work on headaches. Now, Steph, and we also talked fire cream, clearly, because Stephanie uses that as well for headaches. And in this case, D-Rock deals with cluster headaches and fire cream for the win. So, that being said, that's another, that was you, COD and fire cream for the win, 100%. Yes, D-Rock is in fact the podcast host. So, guys, if you do not currently check out Six Borough Podcast, what are you doing? Get on there. I've been on there a couple of times, and the rest of their guests are amazing too. D-Rock and Skanga and freaking Eric Ott and Mike's gonna kill me. What the hell? The hell is his name? The hell is Nick's boss's name? D-Rock. Who am I missing? I'm Lieutenant Steve. But I'm missing one too. Who the hell am I missing? I know I can see his face, but I can't think of his freaking name right now. What the hell? I'm a dick. I appreciate it, brother. Yarborough. Ugh, damn it, I couldn't think of his name. Yarborough. So yeah, D-Rock, Eric Ott, Skanga, Yarborough, Lieutenant Steve. Check them out. Six Borough Podcast, 100%. No, I got Skanga. I missed Yarborough. That's what I missed. So, anyway. So, I appreciate that. I'm a big fan. Your listeners are a big fan of mine. I'm a big fan of the show. So, guys, definitely check out the Six Borough Podcast. But yeah, CBD oil, fire cream, great idea for headaches. So, don't tell Yarborough I forgot him if he's not listening right now. Don't tell him I forgot him. You know what it is? He wasn't on the first time I was on, so that's threw me off. But CBD oil, a drop of my homemade coffee, ice cubes, and CBD cream. Amazing stuff. 100%, guys. Cheryl, what's up? How you doing? Larry, how you doing, brother? So, yeah, those of you joining late, we got a nice little surge coming in. We were just rambling on about the Six Borough Podcast because we're talking about cluster headaches. And, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, cool. I would love it. So, yeah, guys, if you have any requests for when I go back onto the Six Borough Podcast, we can do a focused, dedicated topic on that. So far, the first time around, it was geared more around ketogenic diet. Second time around, it was geared more towards gut. Oh, ketogenic and gut the first time. Second time was geared more towards CBD and a little bit of the gut. We talk about a lot of different things. It's 2 hours each time, so you got a lot of talking to do on that one. But otherwise, besides that, so far we talked about colostrum, and we talked about lactoferrin, we talked about Smurf syndrome, which is colloidal silver, too much issue, and talked about coconut oil and cholesterol and why it still is healthy. I love it, man. Tell them whenever you want me. I'm in. I'm sold. People want more caveman. I love it. Kim, what's up? How you doing? So, yeah, at this point we've gotten into a lot of rambling. It sounds like the podcast. A lot of rambling, but I love it. I appreciate it. What other questions we got, guys? What else we got going on? We talked colloidal silver, coconut oil. I know I've repeated myself like 100 times here. But CBD oil, fire cream for cluster headaches, period. It'll take care of it. We now have our proof. When I was on their podcast, it was much like we weren't sure, but we thought it should, and now we know. Bam, 2-0. Anyway, what else we got going on? What other questions? While I'm waiting for some more questions, I will throw it out there. I'm looking to make some shirts. People have asked me about those shirts for a while. I finally started with the design, and yeah. So if you're interested in shirts, shoot me over what kind of size you're looking at. Talking about getting those shirts made finally. So let me know your size, and I'll let you know. Once I get a nice little order together, I'll be able to put it together, and I'll put a picture of what I have kind of mocked up for my design, but it's going to basically be, and the answer is on the front. On the back, it's going to be A, possibly, B, probably not, C, absolutely, and D, bacon, with Ask Mike the Caveman on the bottom. That's the general mock-up for it. So, yeah, shoot me over what size you guys would want. I'll let you get the rest of the info while I get them made up. Awesome, D-Rock. I love it, brother. Okay, Sean said, a handful of almonds always helps my migraines. Never knew why. Honestly, I'd probably lean towards some electrolytes helping out there. So almonds, nuts in general are a decent source of magnesium, potassium, more so magnesium. They will likely have to be due to the electrolyte balance though. So by taking that, there's also, and this is a very caveat, a very, very little amount of omega-3s, and that could potentially be beneficial, but honestly, in terms of migraines, CBD, fire cream, stay hydrated, reduce your stress. That's my biggest recommendations for that. Have a caveman body on the back. I like it. We can do more designs at some point, but for now, I like the basic idea. It's just straightforward, just the wording for the most part. Yeah, we've been talking about that for a while. If anybody has any other suggestions for t-shirts, please let me know, because I requested an invite for an Amazon merch account, and essentially what that is you upload your design, and then Amazon basically goes and makes it so that you put a price in, and they design it as is, and there's no it's 1 or 100, doesn't matter how many I order, its price doesn't change, and you just order it directly from Amazon, so it's pretty sweet. The problem is it's invite only, so I put that invite in. Hopefully I get notification on that next couple of days, and either way, I'll do the shirts there, but I also having them made local as well. Excuse me. All right. So, suggestion: make a whole video on that stupid coconut water. I agree. I should do a whole video on that, but I already have. I actually have an video titled, "Is coconut oil actually healthy?" So I already did it, and I did the coconut oil cholesterol, which was their big point anyway. So I already have 2 videos on that. Unfortunately, it would be overkill at this point. I could do it where I tackle it, but I read the article, and there's nothing that's new. So, can't clear that right there. Okay, you're bad. All right, we're good now. Steph, who said that? Yeah, Steph, who said my bad. So, yeah, I need to grab some licorice right now with this stupid cough right now. So it's so fine in Franklin Square to have the shirts made. They did mine. Give Frank and Mike, they'll give you a hookup. Okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can head over there. I already got my buddy over at Massapequa who's supposed to be hooking it up, but we'll see. I might see, price it out, see what the difference is. But, okay, question from a friend. Asking for a friend. I know that trick, D-Rock. But anyway, he wants to know how long you should be keto adapted for before you have a good cheat day and not have it make the process of getting back into ketogenic state as long as this process. That's a great question. So, honestly, I would probably say give it a solid, month. And the reason why I say that, and that's pretty much any kind of, major dietary overhaul, I say give it a month. At minimum, 2 weeks, 21 days, if you really want to if you want to do it right, and that's a very loose term of right. The reason being is you should be more than enough keto adapted by then. Generally, most people initially can get adapted in a week, and then depending on how well you manage the electrolytes, it might take you about 2 weeks to deal with the keto flu, etc., etc. It's usually about 10 days in, so a week and a half. From there, what the biggest thing is, basically, when you jump yourself out, if you haven't been on it long term, or you haven't been on it cyclically for a while, your body's not necessarily used to burning that as a fuel, so it might take you a little bit longer to get back in. If you do it for a month straight, after that, bam, you hop right back in. Anything you should avoid on a cheat day, on a keto cheat day, and I saw your question, Shoshana, I'll come back to it in a second, but I'll just build off of that. Honestly, if you're really going in and you're just going to have whatever you want, do what you gotta do. In terms of what the best thing you could probably do would be go with resistant starch. So, cooked and cooled rice. Things like sushi. Things like if you went to a Mexican restaurant, having the rice but then cooling it back down. White potatoes, but again, cooking and cooling it. If I had to go on a cheat day, crush that. You actually probably won't even have too much of an issue because the cooking and cooling, the production of resistant starch isn't really going to spike your insulin too much. You're going to feel like you cheated because you had, like, 3 cups of rice, or sushi, or whatever the hell it is you want to decide to have on your cheat day. But at the same time, you aren't going to kick yourself too far out of keto. So I would definitely look in that direction. That's why I say not necessarily to avoid. That's why I would lead myself towards. In terms of things to avoid, avoid what you shouldn't be eating on a keto day. Theoretically, that's what you should avoid. In terms of what's the worst thing to avoid, I don't know, a donut. I think I called that the worst food to possibly eat. I think that was the top list of, like, real foods. But all right, okay, Shoshana, natural ways to clean the arteries. So the biggest thing you're going to want to do is reduce inflammation, okay? So let's talk, because we talked about the coconut oil and everything there. Let's do a little side note analogy story. What the problem with cholesterol, the problem, that's a very, again, loose word for problem, is that it's not that cholesterol is there, it's not that there's too much. What happens is, think like the LIE during rush hour. There's too many cars on the road. If there's an accident, now everybody's stopping to look at that accident. Like, hey, what's going on here? So cholesterol is part of your immune system. Cholesterol's main focus, one of the big, well, not its main, but a major part of what cholesterol does is plugging gaps. So you get damage done to your endothelial layer, which is inside the arteries, so the walls of your arteries. What ends up happening is damage is done, and so cholesterol gets sent out as part of the inflammatory response to basically help to heal that, almost like forming a scab. Essentially, what's happening is cholesterol is normally driving around, and it's fine, until all of a sudden there's that accident. An accident in a very literal sense. There's a damage done. Something happened. And it could just be inflammation related. It could be a host of things that cause that. But anyway, when it sees that, it goes and parks itself, and it builds an atherosclerotic plaque. So that plaque is basically a scab on the inside of your blood vessels. So, because of that, what you want to do is try to reduce the inflammation, reduce the things that cause the damage in the first place. That is your first best bet. From there, make sure that your blood vessels or your circulation is good, because when you have low blood pressure, when it's too static, what ends up happening, or just dysregulated blood pressure in general, even high blood pressure as well, because that goes and constricts the arteries, making it even more. It's like, really, it's high blood pressure, excuse me, I correct myself. When you have high blood pressure, it constricts the arteries and makes it so that things can get stuck a little easier. It's almost like so the high blood pressure is almost like there was construction on the road, and they already closed one of the lanes. And because they closed the lane, and now there's an accident, you're not getting to work on time. That's essentially what we're looking at. It's not the fault of the cars simply being there. There could be plenty of cars if everyone's driving the right speed, if everyone's driving properly. It doesn't matter how many cars there are on the road. It's when there's the accident. It's when there's Sunday drivers. It's when there's guys from Jersey. That's the biggest problem. It's all that together. All that combined. So the biggest thing is deal with inflammation and focus on your circulation. In terms of that, eating real foods is number one. Number two, things like cayenne are a great idea. They're going to help to improve circulation. Garlic is another great idea on that end. Systemic enzymes. Those are a big one that if it's an option, I would highly, highly recommend that, because what they can actually do is they can help to break up fibrous tissue. So what happens is that arteries, it gets filled up with coconuts. Well, I was like, no, let's be very, very clear on this. With cholesterol. Cholesterol goes to help fill up, not coconut oil, cholesterol. So much of this garbage going back and forth. God, when fried my brain. That cholesterol goes there and it fills up that atherosclerotic plaque. Eventually it hardens, right? So fibrous tissue builds up. So fibrin is a thing that's released, helps to build soft tissue, connective tissue. And those plaques start to get filled with fibrin, basically like a scab. A scab is a fibrous clot on the outside. So those atherosclerotic plaques, when they harden, they get filled with a fibrin and they fill with calcium too. That's a whole other concept for now. But our purpose is right now, dealing with that fibrin. What you're going to want to do is take those enzymes and help break that up and can help to release it. So that's the biggest thing there. Anti-inflammatory diet. What do you call it? Anti-inflammatory diet. Cayenne, garlic, systemic enzymes. Okay. My mom is a health freak, and it is super healthy, but she has a small heart attack Saturday. Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Can't figure out why she wants natural set. She doesn't eat junk. Okay, send me over some more information on what she actually eats, what's going on, in terms of the health freak. Like, it could be a stress related thing. If she's super stressed, if she doesn't sleep well, if she doesn't get sun exposure, there are 1,000 things that could play into that. It could be gut related. There's a bunch of different things. Simply having that right there isn't enough of a I don't have enough variables is the word I was looking for. I'm missing some variables. So please shoot me over some more information in a message. I'll look into it and see what I can find real quick. All right, Katie says, hey, no idea if this goes along with your talk, but what are your thoughts on use of high-dose mushrooms, supplements to shift the immune system and eliminate viruses and parasites? I like it. I like mushrooms a lot. So it does. The question's the open Q&A. Ask me anything, so it's all related, anything you want to cover. So in terms of high doses of pretty much anything, unless we're dealing with a super serious issue, I generally don't like to go crazy on dosing. I'd rather just stick with appropriate dosing. Now, appropriate dosing, of course, is dependent on what condition it is we're dealing with. If we're just looking for an immunological boost, you don't need to get too crazy. If we're actively trying to remove viruses and parasites that are pretty serious, as you just put in there, then yeah, I would definitely consider that. Four Sigmatic makes excellent stuff. I would definitely consider their stuff. I like it a lot. Like Shaga, Cordyceps, Reishi, Lion's Mane's good for that end. Maitake, those are all good ideas. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of mushroom supplements for the immune system. So yeah, at this point, guys, we are about half an hour in, which is usually about where we start to wrap things up in general. If you're watching on the live stream, thanks for hopping in. I will take a couple more questions. Let's be clear on that, though. I will take one or two more questions because we're still getting some good questions in. We'll keep it like one or two more. Other than that, though, thanks, guys, for joining me. If you are watching this on the replay, Ben, thanks for making it that far. Eddie, what's good, brother? It's funny. We were literally discussing that before you popped on. I saw that you popped in, and we were literally just talking about blood pressure. So, let's be clear. We were talking about cleaning the arteries, but I started talking about high blood pressure. So, things you don't want to do with blood pressure are focus on the circulation. So, cayenne, garlic are great ideas. Systemic enzymes, something like fibrenza, is a great idea. But another thing I didn't touch on before, I briefly mentioned the calcium, but making sure your electrolytes are in order. What that means, make sure you have enough potassium and magnesium. In terms of potassium, your best source is actually going to be beet greens, the green part on top of your beets. And I've talked about that for a while now, as weird as that is. And 2 weeks ago, over at the farmer's market over in Babylon, I actually grabbed some beets to plant, to beet plants. I'll actually be having beets this year. I'll be able to grow my own greens. But anyway, make sure you have enough potassium, magnesium. Everybody's worried with blood pressure with everything. And wow, my brain's fried right now. So I went and said low blood pressure. We were talking about high blood pressure before, and while I was talking about the arteries, what's up, Sergio? How you doing, brother? We were talking about the arteries. I went and said low blood pressure. I meant to say high blood pressure. Now I'm answering your question about, or no, you said lower. Yeah, I'm fried right now. I guess I got choked too much at Jits, even though I didn't get choked today. Anyway, we didn't do much chokes. We did berimbolo and stuff. Anyway, my brain's fried, apparently. Long and the short of it is, yes, lower blood pressure because you have high blood pressure. So yes, the things I said before. Cayenne, garlic, systemic enzymes, fibrenza. So also, make sure you have enough potassium. So basically what I was saying like a minute ago, yeah, that was what I wanted to say. My just shot. Make sure you have enough potassium. Beet greens is number one. Avocados are a great source of potassium. Sweet potatoes, white potatoes, provided you don't have any kind of blood sugar issues. So if you're not diabetic, pre-diabetic, then white potatoes are going to be fine for the most part. If you want to be extra safe, cook it and cool it. What that does is create resistant starch. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the live stream. No problem, dude. So yeah, With that, potassium, definitely make sure you have enough of that. A lot of people are deficient on that end when it comes to high blood pressure. So on that, which is where I was going before I went and cut myself off. Everybody's concerned about sodium. They're concerned about the salt intake. It's not that we're taking too much salt, which we kind of do, but it's not that we are eating too much by adding salt to our food. It's because we eat too many processed foods that have salt added to it. So with that, if you're eating real foods, you're going to be eating less salt. Salt is super important. We need it to live, period. And that 2300 number, even though they tell you that it should be below that, no, that 2300 number is the amount you need to live. And that's a bare minimum for 50% of the population. Whatever. That's a whole another fun game they play. The short of it is, you need that 2300. Don't be restricting it much lower than that. What you need to do more importantly is to raise your potassium. Make sure that they're in balance. Kind of like omega-3s and omega-6 fatty acids. Everybody knows, oh yeah, supplement with fish oil or eat fish because they have omega-3s and those are anti-inflammatory. Well, that's kind of the case. It's not that they are inherently anti-inflammatory. They are, but it's more that the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 are thrown off. We eat too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. Similarly, in the case of sodium and potassium, we eat too much sodium and not enough potassium. So, if you eat real foods, generally speaking, you're going to want to add more salt back to your food, particularly pink salt. In terms of keto, we talked about it a little bit earlier. If you were going low carb, but explicitly, definitively on a ketogenic diet, you need more salt. In fact, you will perform better and you will feel better on a higher salt intake. You're going to want to be at upwards of like 5 grams or 5,000 milligrams of salt, like double that. Potentially, depending on how low you're going, potentially even 10 grams. I know, and that's also based on how big you are and how active. That's a whole other ballgame. But if you're trying to be active and you're like a 200-pound athlete, you're looking towards like 10 grams. For most people, you're probably like 5 grams. But that's a whole other conversation. Either way, you definitely want to make sure that you're getting in enough potassium on the blood pressure end, because we went on a super far tangent on that. Hopefully it helps you out. Hopefully that wasn't too crazy. Hopefully you wrote enough of that down. Money first. What's up, brother? How you doing? So, yeah. At this point, we're nearing about 40 minutes. We covered a lot of good topics today, guys. You had some great questions. Things, like, I'll just give the last rundown. If there's no more questions there. We talked about the coconut oil and not being healthy articles, all that garbage. We talked about colostrum and lactoferrin. Talked about sequester and iron. We're going to look into that a little more and give you a more definitive answer on that. Talked about eczema. We talked about colloidal silver. We talked about the Sixth Borough podcast. Make sure you're listening. We talked about fire cream and CBD for cluster headaches, as well as almonds for migraines. Shauna, we talked a little bit about heart disease, what we can do about that. Talked about blood pressure. Definitely look at that. Definitely make those moves. Talked about mushroom supplements for your immune system. Definitely would consider looking into those. And we also talked about the Mike the Caveman t-shirts that will be coming. The Ask Mike the Caveman, because they've already been Mike the Caveman like MA shirts. But those will be the Ask Mike the Caveman t-shirts. If you're interested, shoot me over your size information. I'll give you more information. I'll also post my basic super mock-up vector designs for it. It's going to be a straightforward wordage. I haven't announced it on that yet either. Another thing that I have going on, I mentioned it like a month or so ago that I was considering it. I ended up signing up for Patreon. It's essentially a crowdfunding thing for content creators and like a Patreon of the arts. So essentially, if you are so inclined, if you want to help me keep making these videos, make them better, invest in better stuff, actually have better production value and everything, and just if you think that I provide good information, I did create that Patreon, if only originally to make sure that I have the Mike the Caveman name on it. But I'll put a link to that, patreon.com/Mike the Caveman. I haven't really set up the way the donations and things will work, but essentially, you donate $1 a month, $5 a month. I'm thinking about putting together $50 a month for a half an hour consult. So if you can't necessarily work with me on a, as a full-time basis. If you want to get more information in terms of directly for you, like I do these free ones every day. If you want a basic general answer, or like the basic mechanism that isn't directed specifically to your situation, I do this for free every day. So don't feel like that Patreon or the t-shirts or anything else is something you have to do. It's completely voluntary in the sense that you think that I'm providing something to you. I will still answer your questions on these live streams. If you message me, if you text me, if you something, I will still do videos. That's what I like to do. I will be doing that for free forever and ever and ever and ever. That's the plan. But if you like what you see and you think that I've helped you somehow and you want to help support me, you can check out that Patreon. I'll put that link in the description, or that's not a description here. I'll put it in the description of my YouTube. I'll put it in the comments down here. I'll also put to the designs and a very loose thing on the designs for the t-shirts. And yeah, I think we got some good questions here. There wasn't even the rambling was pretty good. So otherwise, guys, keep sending me those questions. If you haven't already, headed over to YouTube. It's youtube.com/MikeTheCaveman. Please go and subscribe. You know, I do these videos. It was every day until my Arkansas trip, in which case I took a week off finally, but we did go over a year, 370 days straight, and we've gone back to that everyday format. Also, make sure you check out the Bill Nye series I did. I just released episode 2 yesterday on GMOs, so that was a good, fun one. We can take a look at that, where I destroy Bill Nye and his new Netflix series because it's absolute garbage. But, yeah, either way, guys, love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.